you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Senator Maroney and Representative D'Agostino, and Ranking Member Senator Woodcoast and Representative Rutigliano, and other distinguished members of the General Law Committee. Thank you so much for raising HB 5146, the Supermarket Food Donation Program, for this public hearing. I am State Representative Kimberly Fiorello from the 149th, covering Greenwich and Stamford. And I'm thrilled that later this morning, you're going to hear from my constituent Beth Barr and her daughter, Fifi Fernandez, as well as Mike Siegel, whose granddaughter is a friend of my daughter's. I have submitted written testimony in support, especially lines 112 to 27, which add the language for added liability protection for civil damages and criminal penalties for any supermarket that is a part of the donation program. But right now, I would like to cede my time so you can hear directly from Mr. Jason Jakubowski, the president and CEO of the newly merged CT Food Bank and CT Food Share. Mr. Jakubowski oversees 110 employees and more than 8,000 volunteers that work to alleviate hunger in our state. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
All right. Am I on?
Yes, you're all set. Please proceed, Mr. Jakubowski.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very much appreciate you and the members of the committee, and Representative Fiorello. Thank you very much for ceding your time and for working on this bill. You know, there's always a lot of skepticism and consternation about government these days, and the ability of people not to do things in bipartisan manners, and the manner in which many of the legislators, including Representative Fiorello and Representative Borer, have worked on this shows that there is still a strong will in this state and this country for bipartisan leadership. So we appreciate that. As the representative said, I'm Jason Jakubowski. I'm the president and CEO of Connecticut Food Share. We are the official Feeding America food bank serving the entire state of Connecticut. There used to be Food Share, there used to be Connecticut Food Bank, and about a year ago we merged into one, and we are now serving all 169 towns here in Connecticut. I'm pleased to submit this testimony on House Bill 5146, the act establishing a supermarket food donation program. First and foremost, thank you for considering this bill. It is very well intentioned, and it aims to find a solution to an issue I think we all hope to address fully here in Connecticut, which is food insecurity. One of the things that I mention often is food insecurity is not something that is relegated to any one area of the state or any one particular town. I can tell you we serve at least one family in all 169 towns in Connecticut. That is a reality. Sometimes it's not a reality we like to acknowledge or necessarily embrace, but it is accurate. There is no community immune to food insecurity. It's our hope that through the markup process, we can work with you and with other stakeholders on this bill, including the Connecticut Food Association, the Connecticut Food Policy Council, the Connecticut Food System Alliance, the Department of Agriculture, in order to help make improvements to not only this bill, but also the food donation process as a whole. As has been mentioned several times here today by numerous representatives, Connecticut Food Share does have an incredibly strong partnership with both the Connecticut Food Association and the supermarkets that serve the state of Connecticut, and that was only strengthened during COVID. Most of those relationships, they're established contractually at the national level between Feeding America and the parent company of those supermarkets. Last year, the Connecticut grocery industry donated 10 million pounds, or the equivalent of about 20 million meals, to Connecticut Food Share, which we were then able to redistribute to our network of more than 500 partners across the state of Connecticut, including local food pantries, soup kitchens, shelters, etc. This amount included 3 million pounds of perishable product. One of the things I want to make sure that we flag in this discussion is that, like all of our food donors, food safety is always our number one concern. And any of you who have ever volunteered in our facilities, who have ever been a part of the food sortation effort, is aware of that. Connecticut Food Share's large warehouses and vehicles are equipped for safe food handling and distribution in line with USDA regulations. We also ensure that our partners meet those same standards. And this is very important, we definitely do not distribute perishable product to organizations that cannot comply with food storage and cold chain safety standards. As I often say to our staff, we're not distributing pens, we're distributing food. And everybody is entitled to have safe food, and that's one of the major themes that we want to discuss when discussing this bill. These practices are in place to ensure that our community members struggling with food insecurity only receive product that is safe for them to consume. I can tell you we are audited by Feeding America. We are overseen by numerous different regulatory entities at a national and a state level to ensure that the food product that we have is of the highest quality, and that we're giving it to places that have the refrigeration to be able to store perishable product, including produce, dairy, and meat. Again, I want to thank you very much for your time and for your consideration. Our entire team here at Connecticut Food Share looks forward to being an active part of the conversation as you all mark up this bill and consider this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Chairman, honorable ranking members, and honorable members of the General Law Committee. My name is Mike Siegel. I'm the author of the bill that was passed in New York in 2020, which addresses the problem of supermarkets throwing away edible food while kids, seniors, and other Americans go hungry. In the county where I live, Westchester County in New York, the food bank serves about 8 million meals a year. They have the need, they could double that. If they had enough food, they could serve 16 million meals a year. Under the program, which New York adopted in 2020, supermarkets make excess food, which is edible, available to organizations which provide food for free to the needy. This is food which the supermarket has decided in the normal course of its business operations to discard, and is otherwise being carted away for disposal in landfills. Supermarkets, as most of you probably know, on a daily basis, call their shelves of food which don't meet their cosmetic standards or which are reaching their best by date. This is not waste food. This food is still edible. In the United States, there's an estimated 16 billion, that's with a B, 16 billion pounds of edible food thrown away annually by supermarkets, while an estimated 50 million Americans, including 16 million children, go hungry every day. At the same time, we are using fossil fuels to transport this food to solid waste landfills, where this waste decomposes and creates environmentally harmful gases. What we did in New York was to increase the availability of supply of edible food to organizations which feed the needy. And it does so simply. There's no redesign of the existing system of food distribution to the needy. This system works well. There's just not enough food sources. There's no need for government regulations. We don't, in the bill in New York, we don't have, or the law in New York, we don't have any government regulations provided for. The system works well. There's no need for the government to get involved. It's simply a matter of making more food available into the people that do this good work. There's no governmental enforcement cost for this enabling legislation, and there's no new cost to supermarkets, and supermarkets may even save some money by not having to pay to have the food they're throwing away being carted to a landfill, because it's picked up by food banks or religious organizations. Importantly, the Act provides for a safe harbor for supermarkets against lawsuits. to be fair to the supermarkets and so as not to create a 1-800 stomachache industry. In New York, the law says the edible food is made available not only to food banks, but also to religious organizations, as they too play a significant part in the distribution of food to the needy. The law was passed overwhelmingly in New York. In the assembly, it was like, I think, 136-2 or something like that. During the legislative process, no one expressed any opposition to the law. No problems have arisen in New York since its adoption. A couple of local churches or not-for-profits have run across the situation that some local supermarket manager has not heard of the program. And as soon as the food organization or a local legislator calls up and informs the supermarket manager, the situation gets cleared up and food starts flowing in a day or two.
Hi, thank you so much. Good morning, Chairman, Senator Maroney, Representative D'Agostino, and ranking members, Senator Wittkus, Representative Ridigliano, and distinguished members of the Greenwich Law Committee. Thank you for this opportunity to give testament in support of HB 5146, an act establishing a supermarket food donation program. My name is Elizabeth Barr. I'm a representative of Greenwich, and I'm an elementary school teacher as well as a mother. I really appreciate Kim Fiorello for helping us to bring up this bill. I became interested in helping this bill move forward because as a teacher, I know that when children are not fed properly, they have difficulty paying attention, having energy to learn, to make friends, and get through the day in a positive way. I've been a kindergarten through second grade teacher for 28 years, and every day kids say to me, what time is snack? What time is lunch? What are we having? Children use a great deal of energy all day long to learn and navigate social interactions with their friends and their teachers. And if they're hungry, their cognitive abilities are compromised. They can't participate fully. And then as a mother, I can't imagine not being able to feed my children. I know we have incredible food banks and people that help feed our children and families. And I hope this bill will encourage more donations due to the fact that the supermarkets will be relieved of the liability. I also worry what we're doing to landfills and the planet by throwing away 16 billion pounds of food into landfills and the impact the waste and fossil fuels has on our future generations. My husband is a small business owner and employs 60 people. And I understand the difficulties with mandates. So I hope that we can work on that language so that this bill can move forward. And then I would just thank you for your time and hope that this bill addresses throwing away good, nutritious food into dumpsters and landfills while people are going hungry. I respectfully request the General Law Committee to pass HB 5146 out of committee. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm glad you addressed the mandate part. That's the part that I have a problem with. But other than that, I like the whole bill and the intent is so worthwhile, and nobody deserves to go hungry. So
good morning, everybody. Senate Chairman Maroney, House Chairman D'Agostino, Ranking Senator Wittkus, and Ranking Representative Ridigliano, and members of the General Law Committee. My name is Fred Camillo. I am the first selectman of the town of Greenwich and a former colleague of all of yours. It's great to see everyone today. I'm here to testify in favor of House Bill 5146, an act establishing a supermarket food donation program, while making sure that people who are in need of the basic necessities in life always have them. Making sure that's always the right thing to do, but especially in a really high cost environment with inflation at maybe a 40 or 45-year high, it makes it something like this even more, much more needed. I want to thank my friends, Representative Kimberly Fiorello of the 149th District in Greenwich, and Representative David Michelle of Stanford for bringing this concept forward. I really think there's no downside to it at all. In addition to feeding those in need, it will reduce food waste and also will lower the costs for businesses at a time when the costs of goods and services are really, really high. So again, doing this with and encouraging businesses to do that, save some money and do so without fear of litigation, I think is a win-win-win. So again, thank you for bringing this forward, and thank you for your time and consideration and the time to meet with you all today.
Sorry about that. Good morning, distinguished leaders and members of the General Law Committee. Thank you for this opportunity to give testimony in support of HB 5146, an act establishing a supermarket food donation program. My name is Sophia Fernandez. I am a resident of Greenwich. I am a junior in high school. I support creating this food donation program because as a student, I know we exert great amounts of energy every single day, learning, observing, and participating in our academics. And it is extremely difficult to pay attention and give 100% into our academics when we are not properly fed. Students who do not have the proper energy to fuel their bodies are not able to physically and mentally maintain their exhausting schedules. It's shameful for America that we throw away perfectly good food while kids go hungry. And when we do this, we just dispose perfectly good food in landfills where they decompose and create greenhouse gases. This is a lose-lose situation, and I hope the legislator will correct this. I would like to observe the discussion about mandates. Supermarkets are already putting the food on the loading dock in the back of the stores. The only issue is whether the food is picked up for a fee by a carting company and taken to a dump, or whether the food is picked up for free by a food recovery organization and is used to feed people. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope our bill leads addressing throwing good, nutritious food into dumpsters and landfills while people are hungry. I respectfully request the General Law Committee to pass HB 5146 out of committee. Thank you so very much for your time.
Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity to speak with you and in support of House Bill number 5146. My name is Margaret G. Goldberg, and I'm the Executive Director of Neighbor to Neighbor in Greenwich. I'm also a member of the Greenwich Food Policy Council. We are the sole food pantry in Greenwich, and we currently provide food assistance to approximately 500 Greenwich households each week. This past fiscal year, from July 1st, 2020 to 6/30/2021, we served over 1,825 individuals each week, and we provided food for just close to 690,000 meals. 8.8% of our Greenwich residents face food insecurity, and almost a third of our residents are just one family illness or missed paycheck away from financial catastrophe. I do want to clarify one point before I go any further, the actual definition of food bank vis-a-vis a food pantry, so that we're clear, we get a sense of what the network is in place. A food bank is a warehouse or distribution center where food is solicited, received, inventoried, and distributed to local pantries and food kitchens. A pantry is a charity that distributes food and grocery products directly to those in need, essentially that last mile of delivery. Currently, we receive approximately 25 to 30% of our food inventory from Connecticut Food Share, 25% from food donations and drives, and the remaining balance of 45 to 50% is purchased directly by Neighbor via our network of food suppliers. In previous years, ratios would have been closer to 1/3 across the board. At the onset of COVID, systems simply collapsed as there was no prescribed or organized system in place for distribution. Brian Hurlburt, the Connecticut Commissioner of Agriculture, was appointed by the governor in late April 2020 to review and restore our broken network of food systems. With Jacob Jakubowski's leadership in the merger of Connecticut Food Bank and Connecticut Food Share last January 2021, confidence in the food bank was reestablished, and safe food strategies are now in place to connect and distribute food to the network of affiliated pantries and agencies. The aftermath and stress from COVID will remain for some time to come. This crisis is not over. With the current inflation rate at 7.5%, food budgets continue to rise, and we currently spend more than double of our food expense pre-COVID. The House Bill number 5146 to establish a more deliberate and prescribed supermarket donation program would be of tremendous support to the food bank. And within the proposed legislation, if you could please include the network of food pantries and other definitions that provide food assistance to our most vulnerable citizens. To have increased access to a ready supply of edible and available food inventory with no new costs to supermarkets, no anticipated added government enforcement costs, and a reduction in food waste would be a perfect win-win situation. I hope and anticipate that your committee will recommend the bill to the General Assembly for passage. Thank you for your time, and I certainly would be happy to address any questions you might have.
Thank you. Senator Kissel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I just am interested because I think a lot of people don't associate the affluent town of Greenwich with food needs and those that are living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm wondering if there's a particular section of Greenwich or if it's a sort of like scattered throughout your town. And again, that's sort of, I'd like to think that I'm broad-minded enough to know that a stereotype like that is inappropriate and wrong. But I also think that it's good to sort of reaffirm that food needs are rampant everywhere in our state, and that we need to be sensitive to this and creative in how we utilize our resources. So I'm just wondering if you could expand on that a little bit.
Very good. And I appreciate you taking the time to express that. I believe, especially with this pandemic, typical stereotypes were just shattered. We realize now that these are our own neighbors that have lost their jobs, that they may have gotten overextended due to job difficulties. Health issues were paramount. You have individuals now that are making very deep choices between a health consideration, paying their rent, or paying for food. Which gets fed first? These are very extreme circumstances, and we're still dealing with all of that back end, that sludge now from COVID, because we're not out of this situation right now. So, any way to put in a more deliberate, prescribed system of distribution, I think would be very helpful, because then we're better prepared the next time the system gets stressed. We were in collapse. I can't emphasize that enough when we first got hit with COVID.
Okay. And my second question, Mr. Chair, is a previous speaker had indicated that part of the bill that we have before us is already the law, and that there's another portion that seems to be a mandate. And there was a question about taking the mandate out. Is it your opinion that it's okay before us as it is, or that perhaps it needs tweaking or a little bit of modification, but it still would be good to move forward with it?
Mm-hmm. I think that you have a solid, good start. I recommended to Kimberly that we include the words of pantries and other affiliated organizations for food distribution, not just a limitation to the food bank, because we know that that is the mothership, which does not carry for the last mile of distribution. I think the consideration is that, and due to COVID, a lot of companies are looking at a proper ESG model. How is it that people want to continue doing business in a meaningful way that provides impact not only to the end user, but also to employees? And this calls for good leadership. I don't think that a mandate is a harsh word. I think it just provides a stronger prescription of what people are already doing. We already have wonderful, strong relationships, but I think it just becomes a little bit more deliberate, which would be very helpful.
Well, thank you for all you do for people in need, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come and testify. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.